What's up there, workforce? Chris here with Work To Game, and for those of you that didn't get to hang out with us on our very long amount of streaming this morning before Brian and I had to go take care of other things today, we did get in on 4.36 and we did get in on the Monster Hunter World. Normal mode, we both tried extreme, neither of us got a clear, and then I actually moved into Pagos when Brian had to get off for the day. So right now I'm going to be talking about my initial impressions of Pagos, especially in the context of Eureka. And so is Pagos for you? That's really going to depend on kind of what your views were of Eureka and what exactly you were hoping Pagos would be. So let's talk about it. But first, I do want to thank our Patreons. You guys make everything on this channel so much easier to do. We really appreciate all the support we get from, sponsors and Patreons and the subscribers over on Twitch, but we try to thank Patreons at the beginning of these videos, so definitely link in the description below if you'd like to consider becoming one. Thank you so much. Let's get started. So I sat in Pagos for a very long time today. It is day one, and so I knew it would be a little bit crazy. Nobody would know where anything spawns, where anything's supposed to go. Everybody wants to be in a group that's optimal for them, but nobody's at level cap. So, there's a lot of jumping around. Oh, I got my quest. I'm going to drop group, and this instance is dying, but there's too many instances up. I can't get in the one with my friends. And so I'm aware that day one is not always the shiniest moment for content. I will say that my first thought on that is I was impressed that the server seemed stable, everything seemed good, and there were lots of instances running. There were multiple times that me and somebody else from the community joined, and we weren't put in the same instance. We were both put in instances that were growing at the same time, that went from like 80 to 120 to 130 to almost like at cap. So it was incredible to see that many people engage with it, especially not knowing super clear exactly what the loot table or the process for getting to that loot the fastest would be. You do lose your ability to mount up again, so it does feel, in all honesty, a lot like day one of Eureka. It feels like you grinded all the way to 20, and you don't have to be 20 to enter, but most of us were 20. Just so that you could start the whole thing over. So if you leveled up in Eureka a little bit later and you're wondering, man, I wish I was there on day one. I really think I would have liked it if I'd just been there on day one. Today's your chance. And this week is going to be a little chaotic. I will say that people have a tendency of sliding into their own habits, so there was a lot of people looking to form NM trains and things like that. They don't necessarily work yet for a couple of reasons. First is that we can't mount, so we can't cover distances quickly. Second is that we don't have timers and all of those patterns and what spawns what worked out yet. And third, and most importantly, everybody is still really level 20, maybe 21 at this point. So when you talk about having the vast majority of the people in the instance level 22 or under, you don't have that many NMs to choose from, and the ones you do are chaos. We cleared the first one, the Snow Queen, relatively easily. Just stand there and take it. It's gonna freeze you and kill you sometimes, but for the most part, it seems to just hold up, and it seems to spawn in a good spot where you're not pulling a bunch of super crazy mobs at the same time, as opposed to the second one that spawns around a bunch of like 26s or 27s or something crazy. So you've got ads running around just picking people off, and then it has an ability that interacts with dead bodies. So without trying to spoil too much, I'll try to put it in a separate video to kind of spoil that on its own. It's very, very hard, and it is the kind of NM that will get easier as people's level get higher for several reasons. So without trying to spoil too much of your initial experience, I would say that right out of the gate, people are trying to drop into old behaviors, and it's not working that well. The best thing you could do right now would be to knock out your challenge log this week. After you finish your challenge log, if you go ahead and you clear the whole thing, including ashes and sprites, you're probably sitting right at or around level 22. So you should push into 21 fairly easily during that, and then 22 should be kind of where you wrap up. I don't know what you do for the rest of the week. You basically have between now and the middle of September to cap. This is the primary content, this and Extreme Monster Hunter World, so I would say they don't intend for you to rush it, but people are going to do it anyway, and so they're going to sit there and they're just going to hard grind it. I'll probably try a little bit this week. I was really hoping this week I could kind of cap it and put Pagos in my belt as complete and be done with it. I don't think that that's what this content was designed to do, and I don't think that's what it's going to do, so I think this might be something that I end up leveling before 4.4, but after things settle in. So I'll sit in a little more this week, but I think that the pacing is a lot slower than I expected. The zone is beautiful, but it was best summed up by chat as, so this is pretty much just Eureka with snow. The quests, the level 21 quest is hard to find and doesn't seem to do anything. There doesn't seem to be, at least at this point, any new Magicite. It seems like they're kind of done giving us Magicite. That could turn out to be wrong. They could kind of mislead us there, and they could come out back and give us something, but for the most part, it just feels like you're slowly leveling towards unlocking a mount so that you can upgrade your weapon so that it's 370 so that you're ready for 4.4. So I think this is totally skippable content. This is absolutely alternate progression. So if you would like to slam your face into Savage until it kills you over and over, you can wait for 4.4 and you can dump yourself into new content, and you can just be the next guy to go after whatever the newest Savage ends up being, and you can get your content from there. If that sort of thing doesn't interest you, you can slam your face into Pagos and you can let it kill you over and over and over. I have no idea how many times I died today, but once again today really showed me just how many quality of life things the Eureka style system is missing, and this did not add any of them. It did not make it easier to find groups. It did not easier to make you track your challenge log. That could have been as easy as treating it like hunt logs, where in the experience it tells you if that mob counted towards a challenge log, and if so, how many you have left. At least it could have checked in at checkpoints, half, 10 to go, 5 to go, 1 to go, done, instead of just getting 1 to go at the end of 60. I mean, that is just not helpful. And it doesn't remind you, oh, did I already finish this one when we were pulling a lot earlier? And so tracking it somewhere in like a hunt log or somewhere in the Magicite UI would really help you kind of track which ones you still need. And I think that across the board, I was very disappointed with the behavior of people. People were kind of not very nice today. It was a little more toxic side of the community than what I'm familiar with. It was definitely massively unorganized, and I think that it's a lot of grinding at an incredibly slow pace. If you're done with your challenge log and you don't want to go sit on NMs for 60, 70, maybe 80,000 experience for a ridiculous number of deaths and a unpredictable amount of time, you're going to find yourself getting tied up in groups that are doing this new EC instead of NM. It's called like I don't remember what, environmental something. But the EC, it doesn't give you anything. It doesn't give you crystals. It gives you a bunny that makes you able to get loot during a limited period of time. But it doesn't give you experience. It doesn't push anything, and it can only be done if a lot of people are doing it. And so you end up wasting a lot of time, and you think, well, we've almost killed the first phase of it. Well, there's another phase. And so you end up running out of time on this fate that's up for basically 30 minutes. And so that's just a huge waste of time, and it doesn't communicate that very well, and it pops right back up. So I think that there's a lot of poor communication on the game's behalf on what we should be doing. So you're kind of running around in this sandbox and you want to progress and you don't know the best way to do so. And instead you end up killing mobs, and groups end up pushing in on each other because they feel like they want the tags and it'll count towards their challenge log. But it ends up taking the experience you're getting from 200 or 300 per mob with your chain bonus and everything down to sometimes like 11, or you're not getting credit for things. And you'll be sitting in a spot farming, and 3 or 4 people will come in and just merge on your group of 8. So what I recommend is you find a group of 8 and you go out of the way, go far north, and pick up whatever you can that you guys need for your challenge log, and just keep working east as you progress, and just keep knocking out your challenge log. Basically dodos for earth, there's some little monkeys and stuff, and scorpions for lightning, there's some butterflies for your wind, and just kind of do those 3, get your stuff, grab your spirits, play when it's night, shift to killing demons so that you're counting for your ash whatever, and get your challenge log done this week, and then wait to see what this content becomes. I think that this content is not very fun. And I think that if you liked Eureka and your only regret about Eureka was that you wanted to go back to day 1 chaos, where it was disorganized and unproductive in trade for not having to sit AFK in NM trains, then play a lot this week, because I have a feeling it's going to drop right back into NMs, because right now I don't feel very productive, and I feel like if I were to farm this aggressively and try to just power into it, I'd be looking at at least 10 hours of grinding this week at a minimum. Probably a great deal more than that because of just the inefficiencies in the community as a whole right now. So I would think I'm spending at least 10 hours grinding towards a weapon that is honestly not going to be your best in slot, and if by any stretch of the imagination it is your best in slot, 4-4 is right around the corner to totally reset that. So I think this rounds out the 4.3 patch cycle that I had a lot of hope for, and now that I'm seeing it in its entirety, it's got, I think Heaven on High is a shining moment, but this is just Eureka 2.0. It doesn't improve anything. It doesn't shock me. It just is more of the same. So for better or worse, that's what it is. As somebody who found Eureka an interesting concept with an underwhelming execution and a desire for it to be a little bit more than it was, I would say that I saw it as, okay, what's your first one out of the gate? No big deal. Try to cut you some slack. Here we are, and you push this all the way so late after 4.3. This is what we waited for. So I'll keep streaming it this week, see if it gets better. If it does, I'll put another update to this out, trying to be a little more optimistic. But right now, I think that outside of somebody who's just trying to complete everything like I am, I think this is probably very skippable content, at least until it settles into some sort of meta where people learn, okay, on Tuesdays you go in and you farm your challenge log and you get out, or you go in and you camp this certain NM spawns, or you go in and we farm this set of demons as a collective, or some methodology that settles in where the community as a whole finds a way to optimize this content. So sorry if this isn't the rambling video you're hoping for, that it was just going to be incredible and amazing and breathtaking. It is beautiful, but so was the first one. It is something that you should probably try to do as a group instead of do alone. I would recommend doing it with a friend, and I would recommend, if you're not doing it with a friend, it's not as AFK as the first one because it's not yet settled in NM train, so you can't. So turn on some music. You can't really watch TV or anything. You're gonna be dying a lot. Red Mage is king. Thanks. I'll see you guys next time.
Do you guys remember Clyde the Couch Bear from the early videos when I was shooting in my living room and the couch was right behind me? Just wanted to do a quick update on his life. He has been way promoted. He's now guest bedroom bear. Doesn't flow as well, but definitely feels like he's got his own sweet gigs now that we have 2 beds in our house.